My name is Christina Park. I am the Senior Director of Energy Strategy here at Skydio and really excited to introduce our Live Ops remote substation inspection. I've been at Skydio for a year, and prior to that, I was at the New York Power Authority for 15 years.
Hey, I'm
Corey?
Corey Hitchcock. I'm the Utility Solutions Specialist at Skydio. I come from a career at Southern Company where I was a distribution and transmission lineman and worked there for 23 years and helped build the drone program there.
Great. So today's use case that we're focusing in on is substation monitoring. So over the last year or so, we've hosted a number of webinars on topics that are relevant to the utility industry, such as maintenance strategies for aging infrastructure and the path to condition-based maintenance. So today we're going to focus what it looks like in practice with a mock substation inspection for Dock Warehouse in Hayward, California. This type of inspection is one of our most common use cases, and customers can expect to see benefits such as gathering data on the condition of station assets, which enables making data-driven decisions. Also, there's a security aspect and a benefit can be had in terms of recent substation attacks and some theft concerns, copper that have existed for a while. And ultimately, this is a way to keep your team safe. So to keep them on the ground, to get the information that you normally may not have been able to procure easily, and to be able to use robotics that are not subject to electromagnetic interference. So keeping humans out of harm's way, but also having the drone that can fly down, under, through your substation. So as we look at building a remote operations program, we want to cover the components that you'll need to really build a DRO or dock and remote ops program. So first and foremost, there is a regulatory component. So to fly remotely, you're going to need an FAA waiver to fly beyond visual line of sight. Here at Skydio, we have a regulatory team on site that will help guide you through the process. And the team has been very successful with our utility customers in gaining the ability to fly in a variety of conditions. Next, there's hardware selection. So here, what you'll see today is the indoor dock. We actually have an indoor version that is smaller and less concerned with weatherproofing and those types of factors. But here we have the outdoor and the X2 drone. And as part of your waivers, the FAA is going to require that you the proper set of BB sensors along with connectivity. So looking at weather to ensure a safe takeoff, air traffic to ensure that the sky is clear, and you are going to need a reliable internet connection as well. After that, there is remote ops software that will allow you to fly the missions. Cover that in a few minutes live. So we'll move on. And lastly, we have a deployment and training team that is on staff to ensure that you have a smooth rollout and that you can get to operational values as possible. So here are some stats about our dock as of the end of last year. So they've been in the field for about a year. We have over 350 docks that have shipped and over 28,000 missions that have been completed, which excludes Skydio testing. So these are just customer missions and customer flight hours. So we're very excited with the progress on the field. And with that, I'll hand it over to Corey.
Thanks, Christina. So what I want to show you guys today is the ease of use of the remote ops platform and kind of give you a tour. I'm going to talk a little bit about mission planning and then what the data looks like. Today, I'm actually in San Mateo, California. We actually had several utility executives out yesterday, so I had to come out here for a meeting. And so I'm operating from San Francisco this time instead of in Tampa where I normally am. So what I want to do is, this is the landing page that you'll see when you log into the Skydio cloud. It will have your fleet here on the left of the screen. And then when you select that fleet, you'll zoom into where the aircraft is, the dock is inside the warehouse. It will open up the feed camera, and then you'll be able to see, what the real-time conditions look like out where your dock is. In addition to that, and I believe Tommy's going to share it in the chat, we've got a ready link that we can have. You can set that expiration for what you want. In this case, I've got it set for about 6:40 today with our cloud link there. And you can copy that link and share it with anyone you want. And then when that link is finished or the incident you're working is complete, you can either set a automated expiration date of the link, or you can revoke that link there. So we're going to leave that link going. And then once I move to the live flight portion, if you click on that link on your device, you should be able to see the high resolution feed from the drone during live operations. So we have missions that you're able to build and plan. Once you plan that mission, it's there. The drone knows how to do it. You can actually set a schedule to run that mission. And then the way you create that mission is pretty simple. You just hit the create new mission button. You can tap plan that mission live, or you can plan that mission using waypoints or even a map capture type mission. And then once that's saved, once the mission's flown, the drone comes back, lands in the dock, then offloads that data to the Skydio cloud so that that mission's saved. So what I'm going to do is pick this mission right here. This is a substation inspection mission that we built at our Skydio dock testing facility. We've got an actual power transformer and some other substation props in there to kind of give you a feel for what it would look like if you were operating this in the world. So I'm going to go ahead and click Run Mission. It's going to bring us to the remote flight deck page, and we're going to be able to see the dock opening. So I've got the dock opening here, and then the arm is going to extend the aircraft. This is where you could do your inspection. So I can tap the inspection mode, and it'll bring the aircraft back, so I can bring it back to different modes and then do my my inspection that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit the inspection mode. The aircraft is good to go. And then the dock is going to close. Something important to note about the dock is that it has onboard climate control and a positive pressure ventilation system. So there's filtered air that's being brought into the dock. And as the doors open, if you're in a dusty or dirty environment, that positive pressure ventilation keeps particulates, or a large portion of the particulates, from entering the dock. So with that being, we've got the dock out, we've done our inspection. I'm going to go ahead and click the launch mission. This is going to be fully automated. This is a mission that I had already planned, and we're going to the aircraft's going to take off. It's going to do a vision system orientation. So the onboard collision avoidance cameras build a 3D model of what's going on around the drone. And we're moving to our first waypoint here at our dock substation. It's our north wide electrical substation. So now we've got a wide view. We're kind of starting to try to understand what's going on out here. And at any point during this mission, if there's something else I want to look at, I can pause the mission and I can enter pointer mode and I can look around. So let's see if there's anything else here that we've got going on. Oh, it looks like we've got maybe someone hiding behind these giant Lego bricks. I don't know why they built a Lego brick bunker outside of our substation, but they have, and we're going to have to note that. So I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to resume the mission. Now we're going to look at the other aspect of the transformer from a wide angle. And you'll see those AR observer, the AR kind of indicators on the screen. That's showing like the angle that you've planned that mission at, or the angle that the gimbal is, and where the location is based. The aircraft is supposed to take a photo. So I'm going to go ahead and continue the mission, checking out our high side bushings here. Those all look okay. Now we're going to move around and check our expansion tank side. I don't really see anything weird going on there. Looks like we may have some wildlife on top of this transformer. Maybe that's why it's differential. So we're going to move to kind of check the other gauges and other components on this power transformer. And so from this location, I can see that my oil expansion tank is pretty low. And it looks like my winding temperature is high enough that the fans should be running, and they're not, right? So it's at the upper limit there for my internal winding temperatures, and my fans aren't running. So we might have to send somebody out here to look at this one. But I'm going to go ahead and resume the mission and keep it going.
Hey, Corey, so
Yep.
I see a squirrel here.
Link loss. Link loss.
All right. Well, it looks like we've got an audible alert that we have
Link
lost
loss.
the link
Link
to the
loss.
server. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page. And we pick back up. We've got the aircraft in flight. It was continuing the mission. Now the mission's complete, and we're doing a panorama at this point. So at this waypoint, I had it set up to do a panorama. That's all automated. What were you saying, Christina?
I was saying that it looks like we have a squirrel that's kind of fallen over here on top of the equipment. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the value of this, if you could just see that this happened, particularly in the context of distribution automation, where having that information could you get online quicker.
Sure. Yeah. So something to think about here in this situation, we've got our wildlife here that may have caused a differential on this bank, and we know that the bushings seem to be intact. They seem to be okay. So now we can make a decision that we've got this differential on the bank. We can send a test engineer out there to do, the atmospherics on the transformer to make sure that it's safe to re-energize. But had we been out here flying and we see the wildlife, or we see like a completely blown up bushing, then we know we need a crew, and we can go ahead and start calling that substation maintenance crew and getting them out there. In the case of a high magnitude moment, I'm going to go ahead and resume this mission and continue talking. But in the case of this high magnitude momentary fault, where you've got distribution automation, and out on the distribution line you have that high magnitude momentary, which has locked your line out, but you can't safely re-energize that line without sending somebody to patrol it. But it could be a situation where it was a lightning strike, or a tree limb fell through the primaries, or it's something that can be re-energized. And having that drone to be able to dispatch to that event-based patrol, like to dispatch to the section of line that the distribution automation scheme has identified the fault, like that's something that I think is super valuable and kind of revolutionize the way that distribution outages are handled, because you limit your CMI by being able to re-energize the circuit without having your lone worker or your lone worker to have to drive 3 hours to get to that spot and then patrol that line. The drone's already patrolled it, and the inverse also applies, where if the drone patrols that line, you had a high magnitude momentary, like an instantaneous trip, then you fly the line and you find that maybe a car hit a pole at 3 a.m. and you're in a very rural environment, and the drone's actually the first responder on the scene, and the company can get aid to the person that's out there. They know they're going to need a crew because there's a broke pole, or something else is damaged that they need to fix, and then you've saved time by making those rapid decisions. So as we pull up to the dock, we're going to see the dock opening. I'm going to switch to this camera because it's pretty cool. But you'll see the pedestal extend, and the aircraft locks onto the fiducial on top of the dock, and then it uses these April tags here on the arm to kind of finely tune or finely position itself over the landing platform. And we'll switch back to the landing cup, and we can kind of watch the landing happen.
Yeah, I think especially for substations that are in remote areas, there's tremendous value in having a dock out there, as opposed to it's very uncommon that you can get headcount in order to stick a security personnel out 24/7 when the incidents that happen for these momentaries are not that frequent. So this is one way that you can save time and labor by using a machine.
And so we see now that the aircraft has landed successfully in the cup, and we're going to go through the rotor folding behavior. So the aircraft's going to fold those rotors, and then it's going to recover, and then it's going to start charging and uploading the data from this mission.
So one thing that I forgot to mention early on, my apologies, is that if there are any questions, if you could put them in the chat, and we will use that chat to feed the Q&A section that will follow.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and exit remote flight deck and kind of take you guys on a tour of the media that we got. So we come back to the media screen. This is a Skydio cloud. All this media from all the missions that have been flown are uploaded. You can select whether you want the photos or whether you want the video or all of the things uploaded each time you fly as you plan the mission. So I'm gonna jump into these photos here, and I'm gonna look for some of the data that we got on that station. So got our wide shot there. We can kind of see our wildlife prop there on top. I can kind of see that gauge is low, but we've got another one we can look at, another image that's closer. There's another image of our wildlife on top of our transformer. Oh, it looks like we do have some damage on one of the low side bushings. So we've got like some chipped porcelain there on the low side bushing. Could be flashed. Something we're going to need to look at. And then over here, we've got the all the gauges that were on the oil expansion tank and our winding temperature gauge. So something I think is pretty cool is, and this is a new feature that I found last week in one of our latest releases. It's the ability to annotate different things on the screen or different things in the photo. So you can have like an indicator that, hey, something's wrong here. We've got a low oil level. I'm going to show you how easy it is to annotate. So I'll create a single point annotation. I've got some categories here. We'll pick that high temp. And then I'm just going to mark it on there showing that we've got a high windings temperature. And oops, hold on. We've got a high winding temperature there. And now that's saved on that. So you can go back and kind of analyze that as you move throughout your data management piece. Something else to note about our media library and how it works is that the data that the drone captures can be pushed to anywhere you need it. We've got a kind of a program called Skydio Extend, which we've worked with partners in the utility industry to allow for data APIs that exist to push the data where you need it. So you can push the data to Esri, you can push the data to your photogrammetry partners, you can push the data to a lot of different places, and we make that pretty easy to do. Something else we've got here is a fleet management solution or fleet management system. If you're operating a hand-flown drone like our new X10 and you have docks, they'll all be kind of shown in this fleet. And we can check a summary here. We've flown 28 flights on February the 27th. That was a pretty busy day. But we can check the activity in number of flights. We can check each individual flight and see who flew those. And then we can see if there's been any alerts from any of the flights that have happened. So it's a pretty cool tool, like a one-stop shop to kind of manage your fleet and understand exactly what's going on out there. And we can see we've got the upload already happening on the flight that we just flew. And that data should be available in the cloud for us to see in about 6 to probably 8 minutes.
Hey, Corey, I see
that ends. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm looking at some of the questions that came in, and while you have your screen up, I wanted to ask one. So can one go back to freeze pictures from the mission? So the video that was taken, being able to go back and take screenshots?
Uh, you mean they want to see the data that was captured? Like you want me to go back to the media thing and they want to capture a couple screenshots? Is that the
Yeah,
question?
it sounds like the question is, can you freeze pictures from the mission?
Uh, yeah, you can set the mission to yes, you can go back and review them, and like in this case, um, you can review the photos and then you can annotate them, send them wherever you want. You can also have the video running, which it's not uploaded yet, but you can have the video running and you can pause the video and get whatever screenshot you need there. It just won't be able to be annotated. You'll need to have like the prearranged photos for the ability to annotate.
Okay, great. And it sounds like you are done with this live
Yeah.
portion, correct?
Yes, we've completed our inspection of this really small substation, and I hope everybody got something out of it.
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Corey. And I think if we look at the utility segment, Skydio supports over 150 utilities, 128 of which are in the US. So we are quickly growing in this industry. We feel that it merits focus from us in terms of one of the essential industries that our civilization needs to run on. So we are very excited in growing our partnerships. And as Corey mentioned, we have a program called Skydio Extend. So we realized that being able to capture the data is only one part of your workflow. It's really getting that data into your workflow, into the hands of people who need it, so that you can come to actionable insights. I think this is what everybody wants out of using technology. So we have a segment called Skydio Extend where we have partnerships and integrations with, as Corey said, photogrammetry, your systems of record with GIS. And this is something that's being built out. So we are taking feedback from our customers in terms of which platforms which would be the most useful. So if you have that feedback, please be sure to pass it on to your account representative. And with that, we will head into Q&A. So looking at some of these questions, number one, has Skydio had success in identifying failing porcelain insulators on switches or buses or lightning arresters in substations before they fail? Corey?
That's a good question. So we can identify pretty easily damaged insulators. And there have been several cases where we found flashed insulators that maybe caused an operation, but they didn't cause an outage. I also know of cases where some of our customers have been able to use the thermal capabilities of the X10 to inspect lightning arresters and find lightning arresters that were failing because they were running some amount of delta T from the other arresters that were on the line there.
Great. And along those lines, there's a question: is the thermal camera a FLIR camera?
It is. It's really cool. It's a FLIR boson, or on the X10, it's a FLIR boson 640 by 512 radiometric camera. We are working on a dock enclosure for that aircraft as well, but it's a FLIR sensor. It has the ability for radiometry, so it's a fully radiometric sensor, and it has a really high sensitivity level, and you can use that data in your FLIR architecture. Like if you have FLIR tools, you can analyze that data there, and adjust the parameters like you would in a thermographic inspection.
Great. And we saw that the drone landed itself, came in, did some prop checks, and there is a camera in the dock to inspect your drone itself. So how often do you recommend on-site inspections of the drone?
On-site inspections, so that number is going to kind of vary based on the location and conditions the dock is in place in. So if the dock's in place somewhere that doesn't have very much dust, it's not a very dusty environment, and the filters don't need to be changed, then I could see you going 60 to 90 days maybe without having to inspect, or without having to physically go to the dock. But if you're in a dusty, like mining type environment, you may have to visit it a little more often as the filter clogs and that kind of thing. And the cameras might get dirty.
Yeah. We have a couple questions about wind. So let's say that there's a high wind event that begins while in mid mission. Will the drone auto terminate and redock?
I don't think that's a feature that's available right now. I think you'll have to terminate the mission and then the drone will return to dock. But right today, like all of the missions are monitored by the current regulatory environment requires every mission to be monitored by a Part 107, at least in the US, a Part 107 certificated pilot. So, yeah, that pilot would be monitoring that flight, and if you started to receive like high wind warnings or other like unwanted behaviors with the aircraft, you could terminate it at any time during the flight, and it would return to the dock or land in place if it wasn't safe to get back to the dock.
Great. And along those lines for conditions, does the dock analyze weather conditions to avoid flying in inclement weather or to warn the operator?
So the dock doesn't. It still takes a human in the loop to like analyze the data from the weather station, but we do have weather station kits. They're called our BB loss kits that are going with our X2 dock. That they have ADSB in for air traffic monitoring, and then they have weather stations for precipitation, temperature, relative humidity, density, altitude, that kind of thing, and an anemometer for wind, so you can see the magnitude of the winds, and then also density, altitude, those kind of things. But there is no automated go no go decision made by the drone today. It's a human in the loop has to say whether it's go or no go.
Great. And to clarify for some in the audience who may not be versed in the drone space, can you explain what ADSB is?
ADSB is automated dependent surveillance broadcast. What it is, it's manned air traffic have a radio on board that broadcasts their position to other aircraft in the area and air traffic control. It's kind of like radar, but it's not really radar. Our aircraft or our dock can ingest that data from the radios that are on board the aircraft flying around the area, and they can ingest that data and then display it on the remote flight deck screen so that you can see if you've got aircraft in the area and you need to terminate flight or make some other type of avoidance maneuver.
Great. And another question along the wind topic: what is the precision of reaching the waypoint when operating this outdoors, let's say with some wind? Does it require a close landmark?
I don't know that I understand the question. Say it one more time.
What is the precision of reaching the waypoint when you're operating it outdoors if it's windy?
Oh,
Does
it doesn't. So our aircraft use GPS and vision collision avoidance. The vision collision avoidance is the primary way our aircraft navigates through space. So as long as the vision collision avoidance system is running properly and everything's working fine, then the drone will pretty accurately move back to that location and operate it. That mission that we just did had only been flown a couple of times prior to me flying it today. And every time you fly that mission, the 3D map or model that the VIO builds, so the vision collision avoidance builds as you're flying, is compared to the previous flight. And they're all kind of, the drone gets smarter every time it does the flight. So your locations will be more precise. All the things will be more precise. And wind doesn't really affect how that works.
Okay, great. And a couple questions on regulatory. I can answer these. First is, any luck in Massachusetts with FAA waivers for non-line of sight flying? So I don't know if we have a specific customer in Massachusetts to cite as a success story right now, but we have successfully acquired waivers with all of our customers that have submitted. And we do have quite a few utilities. So this is something that our regulatory services team is very equipped to do. And I can't imagine that Massachusetts would be any different. How close to an airport can they fly? So each waiver is unique. Our regulatory team would need to help assess the situation in terms of proximity and the airspace to give a specific recommendation. We do have customers operating in various airspaces. Here, does the drone have to live at a specific facility, or can it be far away and therefore used to inspect multiple substations? Corey?
So typically the idea is that you would have a dock at each substation depending on the proximity of your substation. So right now, the way remote flight deck work is you would have a dock at a segment of your infrastructure that you wanted to inspect. Typically, we see our customers putting them inside substations, and then the drone can patrol out from the substation a certain distance onto the distribution feeder or the transmission side. So so today we're only you really can't fly across town to another facility. You would need to install a dock at the other facility as well.
Great. We have a question about post-processing. So will you start doing AI analytics on these images in the cloud? Basically start being a drone deploy or bus solutions. So like we mentioned earlier, through Skydio Extend, we have partnerships for post-processing of the data. And that was actually a very deliberate decision for our organization, because we wanted to focus our software developers and our AI efforts towards development of what is on the drone, so that the drone can fly safely, know what it's looking at, and really fly autonomously. So there are many, many vendors out there that do post-processing, and that is something that we have chosen to partner with rather than develop in-house. And you can see, if you go to our website, you can see a full list of our partners and partners to come. We have a thermal follow-up question. What is the temperature span for the thermal picture on the X10?
On the X10, I believe it's -100 to, I think it's -100 to 300 C. So -100 to +300 Celsius.
Great. And what is the range of the drone? This person is thinking of patrolling lines for faults.
Oh yeah, you can totally do that. The range for our drone, the usable range, is much more than you would be able to operate keeping the aircraft within line of sight. I have, under certain waiver circumstances, gotten the aircraft a couple miles from my location. Excuse me, a couple miles from my location, and you can do it, but you need the regulatory relief to be able to do that, at least in the United States.
Right. There is a question about pricing. So will you be discussing approximate pricing? So for everybody who's registered for this webinar, there is an account manager or a business development representative who will reach out to you that you can follow up with in order to discuss pricing. And can the drone be equipped with a corona detector? Which I suppose would
corona. Yeah, so corona discharge and UVography is something that the technology is not small enough yet that we can install that on our aircraft. It still requires a pretty large camera and a pretty large aircraft to do. So definitely something we're interested in. And as the technology improves and those sensors continue to get smaller, it's something we'll look at in the future.
Great. And we're coming up on time, so I'm going to put in one last question here in terms of inspections as a service. So do we offer basically inspections as a service? We at Skydio don't. We are not a Skydio. We are not a service provider. But as a follow-up, is there a provision for private drone service providers to offer this solution to customers? Yes, we have drone service providers that use our drone, and we have partners as well with channels to purchase the drone depending on your organization's ability to purchase directly. So Thanks everyone for attending and for your questions. We've really enjoyed having this discussion with you and would love to follow up. So thanks for joining us today.